Hello, BookTube. I've got a mail haul for you here on a very warm day here in Boston. I know it's much hotter in a lot of parts of the United States and in many parts of the world. It's much hotter. The world is burning right now. Few of you have been writing to me, emailing to me, voxering me from blessed enclaves where you're getting rain and it's fairly cool. But that's not true in the United States, and it's going to get less true in this coming week. Today is Thursday. In the interval between now and next Thursday, large swaths of the upper Midwest, for instance, the West, and then eventually New England, are going to get charbroiled before there's any chance of this pattern lifting. This pattern will probably alleviate late next week here in Boston. Greatly looking forward to that. Greatly looking forward to having a window open. Greatly looking forward to it not being boiling hot at 5 in the morning. That'd be wonderful. And I say boiling hot. I acknowledge that's relative. A lot of you have it a lot worse. But the mail still comes in from time to time. Although, when I'm out on that front porch, in the middle of the day, my foremost thought, you would think it would be otherwise because I'm a spoiled, pampered, parasitic booktuber. But my foremost thought is, whether letter carriers, mail deliverers, please don't. Please don't. Just don't. Don't do your route at all. It's dangerous for you to do your route. No one's getting anything important here. Just leave it until the weather breaks. But there is mail. We got some mail. So let's go through some of this and see if anything can take my mind off things. I am not suffering in the sense that I could. David Murphy installed 2 little air conditioning units. I have 2 little the weakest, smallest air conditioning units that you can have. I got 2 of them a long time ago. One for the window of the little book room and one for the window here right next to the fainting couch. And David Murphy was here in the 3rd week of June, something like that. We had a blast, and I originally hesitated. I thought, well, I might be able to install the AC units on my own, and surely we don't need them in June. But on a whim, I thought, well, if he's going to be here and he loves to do practical handyman stuff like that, it really does please him. I thought, well, go right ahead. So he installed them both, and boy, oh boy, am I glad he did. Because I am not living in that roasting heat, but it's an omnipresent feeling. It's everywhere. These little AC units, this one in this room is perfectly good for cooling off this little corner of the room, and the one in the little book room is perfectly good for cooling off the little book room because it's small. The cooled air fills the room pretty quickly. But outside of that, this little unit here, when I stand up from the fainting couch, which granted I seldom do, and I walk even to the other side of the room, it's a 50-degree increase in temperature. It's only good for this corner. But anyway, let's see what we have here. What is this? Oh, all right. Okay, we start off really, really strong. Oh, fantastic. All right, this comes out in December from Liverite, which is an imprint of W.W. Norton, my favorite non-Penguin publisher. And boy, oh boy, they earning that title. This is a little book called The Divine Comedy. Perhaps you've heard of it. A new translation, a new 1-volume Divine Comedy. This is translated by Michael Palma, and this is the whole thing? It is. This is the whole thing. Okay, very interestingly, the notes, I know you're going to be interested in them, the notes are double-columned in microtype in the back. So there are no notes during the book itself, and the book itself is not facing page bilingual. So it's just English. And though that's the way I suspect that this was made to fit in one book that is fewer than 600 pages. Wow. New Divine Comedy. How wonderful. Oh, my. So let's see what we have here. What about this Dante guy? When Michael Palma's translation of the Inferno appeared in 2002, it defied the conventional wisdom of literary commentators who had long argued that Dante's intricate terza rima form simply could not be rendered in rhyme-poor English. Some commentators say that. Others do not. But Palma's achievement in rhyming tercets was quickly received as a spectacular feat of poetic artistry that was, quote, accurate, admirably clear, and readable. And that was the poet Richard Wilbur. And that, quote, in capturing the sense, sound, and spirit of the original comes close to perfection, and that was the poet X.J. Kennedy. I might point out that neither Richard Wilbur nor X.J. Kennedy knows Italian. Now, more than 2 decades later, Palma has applied the same virtuosic attention and to form and flow to the Purgatorio and the Paradiso, attending to both the tiniest details and the grand design of the entire commedia, and offering a fluid and readable English translation that reveals to contemporary readers the sound, sense, and awe-inspiring beauty of Italian literature's greatest poem. Oh my. Then we get a little biographical blurb about Dante, but who cares about him? We want to know about Michael Palma. He has published 6 collections of original poetry and nearly 20 books of translations of modern and contemporary poets. And he lives in Vermont. Okay, well, I know you're curious, so let's take a look at this thing before we move on. I promise I won't spend this much time with every book, but you don't get whole Divine Comedies in the bookstores very often. So let's see what we have here. Just because I know you'll be curious. Those of you who are interested in this sort of thing at all will be curious about these. Okay, so we have a brief-ish, not very long introduction, and then a 3-page note on translation. And then, just to satisfy your curiosity, let's read the famous opening of Canto 1 of Inferno, where the narrator awakens to find himself in a mid-wood. Midway through life's journey, once I found myself in a dark wood, for I had strayed from the straight pathway to this tangled ground. How hard it is to tell of, overlaid with harsh and savage growth, so wild and raw, the thought of it still makes me feel afraid. So you see what's going on there? Found, ground, strayed, overlaid, raw, draw, afraid. So you've got strayed, overlaid, afraid. You've got found, ground, and raw, and draw. And he manages to do that for 600 pages. Good Lord. I'll have to check and see if I noticed his 2002 Inferno. I don't remember off the top of my head if I did. His name's not ringing a bell. But anyway, not a bad way to start a mail haul with a new Divine Comedy. Fantastic. All right, so it's probably all downhill from there, but let's take a look and see. There is one thing hovering out there in the book world that would not make this downhill from there, but I don't think it's going to be here. Let's see. Oh, okay, great. Great, fantastic. All right, this is coming out in early August. This is by Sune Engel Rasmussen, and this is 20 Years. Hope, War, and the Betrayal of an Afghan Generation. On the eve of the 3rd anniversary of the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan, this book, which is by a Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist, is a mesmerizing, brutally intimate work that tells the story of the war in Afghanistan since 2001 as experienced by the people it affected most, the generation of Afghans who grew up in the shadow of the conflict. Rasmussen relates this history via a myriad of featured subjects. Zara, who returns from abroad with high hopes for her liberated country, where she must fight to escape a brutal marriage and rebuild her life. Omari, who joins the Taliban to protect the honor of his village and country and winds up wrestling with doubt and trauma of war after achieving victory. Parasto, who risked her life running clandestine girls' schools under the new Taliban regime. Fahim, a rags-to-riches tycoon who is forced to flee. Interesting approach. That's an interesting approach. With intimate access to these and other characters, the author offers deep insights into a country betrayed by the West and the Taliban. Okay. All right, so this is early August. That's right around the corner, believe it or not. 20 Years. Pretty bleak reading, I would imagine. Let's move on from there. That is interesting. Let's see what this next one is. It's big, whatever it is. That's always good. Steve likes big books. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. All right. This is the finished copy of something that we've seen already and that I really need because I'm on the brink of writing about this. This is by Lev Grossman, and this is his book, The Bright Sword, a novel of King Arthur. This is the big, thick, rather stylish finished copy from Viking Books. I don't have a pub sheet for this, so we'll just read the dust jacket, like Common Bridge Trolls. A gifted young knight named Colum arrives at Camelot to compete for a place at the Round Table, only to find that he's too late. King Arthur died 2 weeks ago at the Battle of Camlan, and only a handful of knights of the Round Table are left. The survivors aren't the heroes of legend like Lancelot or Gawain. They're the oddballs of the Round Table like Sir Palomedes, the Saracen Knight, and Sir Dragonet, Arthur's fool, who was knighted as a joke. They're joined by Nimue, who was Merlin's apprentice until she turned on him and buried him under a hill. But it's up to them to rebuild Camelot in a world that has lost its balance, even as God abandons Britain and the fairies and old gods return. Led by Morgan Le Fay. They must reclaim Excalibur and make this ruined world whole again, but first they'll have to solve the mystery of why the lonely, brilliant King Arthur fell. And I have the advanced copy of this thing that I'm a sucker for Arthurian fiction, and yet I have not got to it. So now I have the finished copy. That is, as I often say on this channel, this is usually the kick in the pants I need to get to work. And that's definitely what it's going to be in this case. I'll read the finished copy. So I will chuck the finished copy onto the pile for the night's reading. This is December. So I can't justify putting it on the night's reading tonight. I really, really want to, but I can't justify it. So then we have a couple of boxes here. We'll see how well behaved they are, or if I have to do the boarding house reach for scissors. Sometimes I don't need to do that because I can just brutalize the package without worrying about my delicate fingers. So maybe this will be one of those cases where I don't have to go fishing for scissors. Well, scissors wouldn't help anyway since this is cardboard, so we'll just use increasing increments of violent force. There we go. It's the American way. So let's see what we have here. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Oh, I wasn't expecting this. This is a bit late getting to me. This is, we've seen this already. This is by Timothy Weingard. This is the finished copy of his book, The Horse, A Galloping History of Humanity. So that's lovely. That's absolutely wonderful. I commissioned a review of this for Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia, which is already run. So this has had a print newspaper, full-color review in a book section in a print newspaper, which is not something that most people get to commission these days. Great tribute to do, but I also read this book, and this book was really, really enjoyable. It is really first-rate popular natural history weaved in with history. This is the story of a domestication, the second most successful domestication in human history, and the story, therefore, of human history, because I know that dog and cat owners love to talk about the antiquity of how long their breeds have been intertwining with humankind, but horses made civilization possible. We have to keep in mind. Horsepower had an original meaning. You don't build big administrative buildings without horses. You don't go to war on a large scale without horses. Don't explore on a large scale without horses. And this book does that really well. Very glad to have a finished copy. That's wonderful. And then we have a great big box that is lightweight. I believe I know what this is. I'm pretty sure that I know what this is. I believe that it is a violation of rule number 1. Rule number 1 on this channel is don't send me a book. Because no matter what it looks like, I know it looks like I love books beyond all things, and I do. Other than dogs, I love books beyond all things. But it's unlikely you're going to send me something that I don't have that I want. In this case, yes, it is. Oh my, so nice. In this case, the sender knew that I didn't have the book because I told him that I didn't have it. I also told him that I wanted it. But I strictly told him, don't go to all the bother of sending it. He did anyway. And the sender, of course, is Daniel at Guilty Feet, a well-known troublemaker. And he sent me this. Well, I have to confess, I'm really, really glad to have this. This is the Sword of Honor trilogy by Evelyn Waugh. In this Penguin Modern Classics thing, I never see these. I never see these Penguin editions at all. Never. And this is so nice. It's so stylish. How wonderful. I love the trilogy. I don't have it. I have it as ebooks, but I don't have, every once in a while I come across an individual book in this sequence, but not anything as stylish as this. Is that a futurist poster? The front cover shows a detail from an Army The Worthwhile Job poster by Abram Games. No date on it. Let's... that is lovely. Thank you so much. That is wonderful. This also presents a severe curveball in terms of tonight's reading, because rereading part of this would be really, really tempting. Waugh's own unhappy experience being a soldier is superbly reenacted in this story of Guy Crouchback, a Catholic and a gentleman commissioned into the Royal Corps of Halberdiers during the war years 1939-1945. High comedy in the company of Brigadier Richie Hook, or the denizens of Bellamy's Club, is only part of the shambles of Crouchback's war. When action comes in Crete and in Yugoslavia, he discovers not heroism but humanity. And this lovely, wonderful. I do still want the individual volumes, and I know exactly which ones I want, but I'm a sucker for editions. This thing is going to go in Little Book Room. But before it goes in Little Book Room, I'm probably going to reread at least the first part, at least the first book in the trilogy. So that's rather wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. So that is the mail on a boiling hot Thursday. I have a plastic floor fan pointed directly at me. I have a ceiling fan whirring, and I have the AC unit churring away not one arm's length from me, and I am still warm. Just from sitting up here and talking on camera, I am still warm. There's no way, the sun is beating down now, there is no way at all that I can take the bean on anything like a normal walk schedule. I swear, if it weren't for that walk schedule, if I had a cat, I just wouldn't move. I'd be the worse for it, because you should have that burst of exercise at some point during your day. I'd be the worse for it, but I wouldn't be put out at all, and I am now, because there's no way to take her outside. There's no way to do it. We have to wait until the sun goes down in order to go for our next walk of any length at all, and it can't be long. Even then, it can't be long, because it'll still be 85 degrees. Anyway, I'm not going to spend every video complaining about the heat, but especially when I'm getting books in the mail. So we have The Horse in finished copy. I have the galley of this thing, and I don't need both. And I know there are horse people who watch me, I mean, far more dedicated horse people than I am. I was, once upon a time, fairly skilled at dressage, but horses don't like me, and I don't particularly like them. And I know there's some of you that's the exact opposite. Or maybe you know a horse person. I'd be happy to send that extra copy, provided you fulfill my criteria, which is you have to live in the lower 48, the contiguous lower 48 United States, not in Canada or in Hawaii or in Alaska, and not anywhere else. Certainly not anywhere overseas. The package will simply never reach you. It'll cost me $170 to post it, and it'll never reach you. 2, you have to know where you live. So you have to be able to give me your correct and complete mailing address on your first try. And 3, you have to want the book. You can't be Captain Casual. I might pick it up. Yeah. No sweat off my nose if you send it. Yeah, thanks. Sweat off my nose if I do, so I'll skip it. If you meet those fairly minimal qualifications, and you know somebody, or you are somebody who wants a copy of this book, I'd be happy to send it to you. Then we have 20 years, the war in Afghanistan from the point of the Afghanis. We have Bright Sword. How wonderful. That's a lead contender to go on the pile for tonight. We have The Divine Comedy, good Lord, coming out in 1 volume from Liverite in the winter. And finally, we have the Sword of Honor trilogy in this lovely, lovely edition. Fantastic. Just fantastic. So there you go. That is the mail. I made a few other videos today, but I'm going to have to pare back. I am hot doing this. No matter where I go, no matter how I condition a room, this room or the Little Book Room. So I might have to stop down to a couple of videos a day instead of 4 or 5 videos a day. I know, horrible, but I'll wrap this up for now, and I will ponder. This is going to get worse before it gets better, so I'll see. Maybe if I make videos very late at night or very early in the morning, that might help? I don't know. Anyway, that's the mail. Some interesting stuff. I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.